Tonight on Reporting Scotland, we track down the candidate suspended by the SNP over anti-Semitic posts on social media. Hello, good evening. The election candidate Neale Hanvey, who was suspended by the SNP over anti-Semitic posts on social media, has told the BBC he hopes to be allowed back into the party. The SNP has withdrawn support for Mr Hanvey pending disciplinary action. Nicola Sturgeon has urged SNP activists not to campaign for him, but some are doing so anyway. Our chief political correspondent Glenn Campbell went in search of Neale Hanvey in the Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath constituency.
We seek him here. We seek him there. In Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath, we seek Neale Hanvey everywhere.
Hi, my name's Neale Hanvey. I'm the SNP candidate for...
But not anymore. The SNP suspended Neale Hanvey over online posts that he accepts were unintentionally anti-Semitic. Nicola Sturgeon's party says it has withdrawn all support from his campaign. But the Labour candidate, who's defending a majority of just 259, is not convinced Mr Hanvey has been cut loose.
He still seems to be using SNP colours, and there is an implication even on the doors that he may be taken into the fold when the dust dies down.
So you don't think they've really abandoned him at all?
Well, I think words are saying one thing, actions on the ground here perhaps are suggesting something quite different.
I went to find him at his new crowd-funded campaign HQ.
Don't think there's anyone in.
No sign of him either at the Yes Hub in Kirkcaldy, which has issued a statement supporting him.
We think he is the only pro-independence candidate that can win this.
Listening to what SNP members in this constituency are saying, they're saying the same thing. He'll be back in the fold.
The Greens are urging independent supporters to back them.
If the pro-yes movement coalesces behind the Greens and tactically vote, we can take this seat from Leslie Laird. We can defeat the shadow Labour Scottish Secretary.
The three other candidates were not available for interview in the constituency, but the Conservatives' Kathleen Leslie, the Liberal Democrats' Jill Cole-Hamilton and the Brexit Party's Mitch William are all against Indy Ref 2 and in favour of Scotland staying in the UK.
So we've tried ringing Neale Hanvey, we've called at his office, we've exchanged messages with him online, and it's clear that he really doesn't want to do an interview. But we hear that he's due to appear at a hustings event in Lochgelly, and so we're going to go along there and give this one more try.
At last we caught up with him and asked why he'd shared anti-Semitic material.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I don't think, well, I'm quite clear at the time there was no motivation that was unacceptable. I don't really want to get into the detail of that before there's been a full and fair examination of the facts.
But you know your own mind. Do you have a problem with Jewish people?
Absolutely not.
Do you wish you hadn't posted the material?
Yes, I'm very sorry for any offence that's been caused. That was never my intention.
And what happens if you win?
Then I represent the community to the very best of my ability.
As an independent MP?
Well, that's a matter for the party to decide.
Would you like to get back in?
Of course. The SNP is an incredibly important part of my life.
We won't know if his wish to be allowed back into the party will be granted or not until the SNP's disciplinary process concludes after this Christmas election. Glenn Campbell, Reporting Scotland, Lochgelly.
Nicola McEwen, but I want to cross live to Glen Rothis and the candidate Neale Hanvey, who started the election as the SNP candidate, was suspended by the party but decided to fight on. Good evening to you. What are you hearing about the count for Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath where you're standing?
Hi, Glenn. Well, I think the team are quite hopeful at the moment, but it's still, the count is not completed, so it's a bit premature to give you a definitive answer.
So you don't think that your suspension from the party has necessarily harmed your chances of winning in Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath?
Well, it's impossible really to answer that with any great clarity. But certainly there was quite a strong response from the Yes community in Kirkcaldy in particular, but indeed across the constituency. And I felt I had a responsibility to carry on, not necessarily for myself, but the platform that I was putting forward as a member of the SNP was something that was very important to that community, and I felt a responsibility for them to have somewhere to place their vote in this election.
But Neale Hanvey, where you are, I suppose some people thought that your chances would be diminished in that seat because you'd been suspended. You concede that you posted material on social media that was anti-Semitic, but you've said not only are you sorry, but you want to make amends. What efforts have you made to make amends, and is there a way back in to the SNP for you if you are elected tonight?
Well, with regards to making amends, I've written to the local Jewish community for Tayside and Fife. I've written to the national organisation, and I've written to other Jewish groups who have different views, so that I can make contact with them and try to offer some reassurance. That my apology is very sincere, and also I think to help myself and others ensure that the language that they use when they're talking about some of the sensitive issues is more measured.
Okay, and in a sentence, what do you say to the SNP who have, at least temporarily, thrown you out while they investigate?
I've got a lot of friends in the party, and I feel at home in the party, and I hope that this does not define me as an individual. I've made a great contribution to the health service in my career. I've made a significant contribution to the Yes campaign. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for talking to us. We'll catch up with you later, perhaps once your result is in. Neale Hanvey, who's, I suppose, an independent candidate, formerly SNP candidate in Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath, which in history, fairly recent history, was a Labour stronghold. And we've had a result from Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath. Neale Hanvey, who we spoke to earlier, has unseated the Labour Shadow Secretary of State for Scotland. The Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, Leslie Laird, is out of Parliament. Now that is recorded as an SNP gain because Neale Hanvey was on the ballot paper as the SNP candidate, but as we've been discussing, of course, he was suspended by the party after admitting making posts on social media that were anti-Semitic in nature. He's apologised for that. He's seeking to make amends and make his way back into the SNP. He's found himself in the UK Parliament with 16,568 votes, beating Labour's Leslie Laird, second with 15,325. The Conservatives' Kathleen Leslie, third with 9,449. The Lib Dems' Jill Cole-Hamilton, fourth on 2,903. The Greens' fifth. The Brexit Party candidate in sixth place in Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath. A majority then for Neale Hanvey in Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath of 1,243. The vote in some detail, 35% of it going to Mr Hanvey, 33% to Labour, 20% to the Conservatives, 6% to the Liberal Democrats. And the SNP down there, down 1%, Labour down 4%, the Conservatives down 3%, the Lib Dems up 4%, the Greens up 3%, and the Brexit Party, which of course didn't exist before, up 2 percentage points. Labour to SNP swing of 1.6%. That is the result in Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath, although, as we say, the candidate on the ballot paper as being SNP, currently an independent, effectively, because he's suspended from the party pending an investigation. Let's bring in the Deputy Leader of the Scottish Labour Party, Shadow Scottish Secretary Leslie Laird, who has just lost in Kirkcaldy and Cowdenbeath. Commiserations to you. How do you feel tonight?
Thank you. Well, I'm really disappointed, obviously, to lose the seat. I'm also very disappointed for all of our hard-working candidates and volunteers who really have worked their socks off the whole of this campaign. It has been and was, I believe, a once-in-a-generation election to stop talking about constitutional politics.
How is it possible that you got beaten by a candidate who'd been dropped by his party over anti-Semitic comments?
Well, as you know from your own intervention on this, that there was other support available for that candidate. But tonight is not a night for me to reflect on my position. I will go home, I will speak on it, I'll discuss it with my family, what I want to do next. And I think it's now for the SNP to continue with their disciplinary process and to address the very serious issues that resulted in that candidate's suspension in the first place.
We'll see what happens with that. Thanks very much for talking to us and for waiting for the developments that we brought you during that interview. Leslie Laird, live from Kirkcaldy.